My landlord sent me an unlawful eviction notice the day before Christmas Eve, so I capitalized on it instead and became a full-time nomad. This is a little more personal than my usual sustainable travel content, but it's too juicy of a story not to share. I, of course, have to say, this is all alleged, but who would make this up? So I've been a part-time nomad since 2018, coming back to the US as my home base about every 4 months, and for the last 5 years, my home base has been a rental in downtown Chicago. I've been renting from this husband and wife couple, and the wife and I have had a fantastic relationship. That was up until this last fall when I reported some basic maintenance, and her husband, let's call him Richard, bulldozed into the situation and ruined all the vibes. They came over one day to kind of review what maintenance would need to be done, and when I tell you, when they walked in, the vibes between them were so bad, like to the point that it was unhealthy. And if she was my friend, I would have taken her to brunch and told her all the reasons why she needs to leave this man, and it would have lasted 9 hours. But anyways, I couldn't do that. So we're going through all the things that need maintenance, and each one he's getting more in my face, louder, like trying to intimidate me into saying that it was my fault so that legally I'd have to pay for it. And it was very obvious he was trying to do that, but it was so inappropriate because he obviously knew, as my landlord, that I'm a single woman living alone, and he's like getting up in my face, getting so aggressive. So we didn't end up resolving a lot of it that day, but I just made a mental note, like, I want to leave when my lease is up in the spring. He's obviously going to try to take money out of my security deposit, so I just need to brush up on my rights and know what to do then. So I was content with that up until the worst maintenance issue I've had so far. In mid-December, I started to smell weird fumes coming from the vents, and one night I was woken up in the middle of the night like asphyxiating, and I had to run to all the windows, open them up in the middle of December in Chicago just so I could breathe. So I report this to my landlords, and they're doing nothing. And to show you how much of a disparity it was from how other people were responding, I was having health concerns like headaches and nausea and dizziness and like body chills that would come in waves. And so I go to my doctor, and she literally says, Emily, I can't help you until you report this to the US Center for Poison Control and we follow their standards, because otherwise I could lose my license. Like, that's how different the reactions were, right? So 5 days come and go, and finally I email them and I say, you have till the end of the day today to book an HVAC tech, or I'm calling the Chicago hotline for safety-related landlord issues and reporting you. So they book someone, the tech comes out, and it couldn't be more obvious that my landlord, Richard, had been telling him, oh, it's not a big deal, just convince her it's not. Because he comes in and is just telling me how it's not a big issue, it's just a filter, it's a filter. And I said, I implore you to actually look at the system before you determine what the issue is. And I'm in the kitchen eavesdropping, and I hear the tech, like in a hushed tone, say to my landlord, dude, this unit is older than me, that's obviously the issue. So tell me why, moments after they step out of the apartment, my landlord emails me and says, everything's fine, we're just gonna do a vent cleaning. So me, knowing my rights that I'm allowed to get my own tech, I get my own tech, they come out, they actually open all the access points, and they say, yeah, with what you're describing and with how old this motor is, it's 30 years old, we definitely think that's what it is and it needs to be replaced. So I report that to my landlord, and he throws a hissy fit, and he's like, how dare you have someone there when I'm not? I'm the owner, you're the tenant, which is just, again, showing how little he knows about my rights and his obligations, which the stuff he was willing to put in email was shocking. At one point I told him how I didn't have a working carbon monoxide alarm, and his response was, you don't need one, which is so illegal, like crazy. So I tell them, you can either book the repair or I'm booking the repair and I'm taking it out of your rent. Which, mind you, the repair would only cost 2 months of my rent, and I had 5 more months on this lease. So they book the repair, but unfortunately, the tech comes out and doesn't have all the equipment they need. So he does a minor fix, but he sits me down, he looks me in the eye. I thought this was a bit weird that day, but the next day it made sense. He goes, Emily, it's very important to me that you know that this tiny fix I'm doing is not going to solve your problem. I have made that clear to your landlord. So the next day, my landlord messages me and says, everything's fine. So I have to play along just to show the paper trail of I was trying to work with him, right? I turn it on, the noxious fumes start again, I turn it off, I report it. So then he says, you know, we've decided we're gonna put you up in a hotel for the next 2 or 3 nights while we get this fixed. And my gut alarm bells were ringing, because I was like, it's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks. Now all of a sudden you care about my health? I don't think so. So I pack my stuff for the hotel, but I also do one of my routine cleanings. I clean the dishes, I clean the trash, and I moved all the stuff out of the HVAC access points so that their technician, if they were really gonna have one, had an easy way to come in. But before I left, I knew to do two things. Number one, I took a very detailed video of the state that I left the apartment. And number two, I sent them an email as I was leaving, so there was a record of when I left that place. I come back when they had the maintenance there because I'm entitled to be there when maintenance is happening. And my landlord is already there and he's rifling around in my apartment making all this noise, which he's not allowed to be in my apartment without telling me he's going there, right? And the maintenance person comes and all they keep saying is this would pass a home inspection. And that's when I knew their plan was not to fix the issue. It was to kick me out of the apartment and try to sell the place without fixing the issue, which again would have only cost 2 months of rent. So 3 minutes after they leave, I get an email from his attorney saying, Richard has all this evidence of how I'm not keeping up with my tenant obligations. I'm not taking out the trash. I'm not washing the dishes. I'm hoarding, which again was just me moving the stuff out of the closet so that they could access the HVAC points. And that I should be so grateful because he's advised Richard that they should evict me. But Richard has decided that they'll give me a cash for keys offer, which is just cash to get you to leave earlier than your lease term ends. And if I don't agree within the next 24 hours, which would be Christmas Eve, that the deal is lost and I'm gonna get evicted. And I was cackling so hard because number one, it's downtown Chicago. One of the most notoriously difficult places to evict someone. If I wanted to, out of spite, I could have just kept living there for a year, not paid my rent. He would have lost thousands of dollars on attorney fees trying to get me out, right? Number two, I have literal video counter evidence to everything that you and your client are claiming. Number three, they're trying to create this false sense of urgency by telling me I only have 24 hours to respond on a day when they think that I won't be able to get a hold of my attorney, which is crazy. And then number four, this is a literal dream come true for me. Like, I already had an Airbnb booked from January for the next 3 months to Nomad, and now I get to save 5 months of rent. The likelihood of me getting my security deposit goes back up because lawyers are involved, right? You're gonna pay me to leave early, and I don't have to deal with this nightmare of a man 4 months sooner than I wouldn't have had to. Like, please, Christmas miracle, babes. So I contact my attorney and he actually says, with all the evidence that I compiled, I could push for more money, which was very tempting. But honestly, I decided like this was enough money. There was already enough money on the table and I just wanted to like get out of the situation as soon as possible because this man was crazy. So even though I accepted their offer, right? They wait 6 weeks to sign the document because I think Richard's scummy landlord told him that if they scared me out of the apartment, like I moved out before a deal was signed, that the state of Illinois would make me pay the remainder of my lease, which is accurate. But all the instances that I showed Richard that I knew my tenant rights and he didn't know his landlord obligations, him really thinking that would work, I don't know why, but I kept my stuff in there till 3 days before when he signed it, and then I moved out. And yeah, like, I guess moral of the story is if you're a wonderful person, don't marry an idiot because he'll ruin your investment that you made as a single woman, i.e. my landlord. Also, I should have, having signed a lease with 2 people, I should have gotten a vibe from both of them. That was my bad because, you know, it only takes one crazy person to mess this whole situation up. And number 2, I'm really happy I knew so much about my tenant rights and that I got everything in like video and email, and I learned even more along the way. So yeah, that's just a reminder for us all. But yeah, ultimately he spent thousands of dollars to avoid a maintenance issue that my lease would have paid 2.5 times what it would have cost. He's trying to find a buyer with no rental income, and the home inspection is likely going to make him fix it anyways. And I made thousands of dollars and I got the little push out of the nest that I needed to be a full-time nomad instead of a part-time. So happy I'm in Mexico right now, living my best life. So yeah, I guess all I need to say is thank you, Richard, for being exactly who you are. Yeah, everybody follow along as I explore more and more now that I'm a full-time nomad, and can't wait to share it with you guys.